Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 56 of Direwolf20's Let's Play series. I'm having fun, doing all kinds of cool stuff. Let's show you what I've done, a little bit of work, really not much, off camera between last episode and this one. You'll notice the ugly wires on top have disappeared. That's because they're all hidden. You can see them there if I turn on the rendering of wires. That's set up to light up the lights. Sweet. So that thing's all up and running and working perfectly. I've not had any issues with light bleeding through the facades. So crossing my fingers, but I'm hoping that that kind of issue is fixed and is no longer going to be a problem for us. So that's good news. The other thing I did is changed up, and we'll go back to rendering only liquid pipes here for a moment, changed up the way this works. So all liquid from both the grinders now flows into the tank, and the tank then outputs the liquid straight across over there into the MFR spawner, so that the purpose of this is we can have an easy way to make sure we always have what we want in that tank. That's going to kind of be the buffer between, mob essence, between the grinders and the spawner over there. Cool. So that's kind of what I've worked on. Just minor changes that I handled off camera because you guys didn't need to see me doing that. So that was cool. And over here, I'm working on a few cool things. Let's see. You saw me prepping up a basic gate. So I had a neat idea that I'd like to set up for this episode. So let's get a structure pipe. There we go. And let's see what we can do over here. So I'm definitely going to be upgrading this tank shortly. But I had a really good idea. Let's take a look. If I place this here, can I measure tank contains less than 25%? That's false. Less than 50 is true. Less than 75, fluid in tank, tank empty, tank full. That's what I want. I want to measure when the tank is full. And what I'm thinking would be a cool trick would be the following. Let's see, where's all my wiring and such? Okay, I want to make sure no sunlight bleeds into this room because that would kind of be bad. So I'm just going to boom, boom right across there. And then I should be able to 1, 2, render everything. And we'll do facades for this thing. And this should be right through here. Cool. So if we look at the facades there, we should be in good shape. I can then get rid of these guys. Nice. And no light bleed through, correct? Beautiful. That's cool. So what I'm thinking is I should be able to do something like this. Let's see. Where is this thing? That comes out there. All right, so let's run this here. And I'm debating, do I just want to run it down the wall here? This is going to be kind of tucked away, so it shouldn't be too bad if I have this run straight down like so. And we're going to configure this on the down to be an in-out signal. Nice. So check this out. You ready? I'm going to configure this thing to, instead of tank full, we'll say less than 75 in a moment here. So lights off. Looking good. Monsters start spawning. And we're measuring less than 75% full here. So you can see we just got a good burst of the grinder running. We got a bunch of mob essence. When this tank is 75% full, let's do tank full actually. Yeah, because it's almost full. It's going to fill up pretty quickly. So tank full, we're going to tell it to emit a redstone signal. So what this should do is it should automate it such that as soon as that tank is completely full of liquid, it should emit a redstone signal turning on the lights. Let's take a look. Dun 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 dun. Ta-da! Lights are on. Ha! Check that out, huh? Nice. So then if we go over here to our mob spawner and we start spawning mobs, it'll start draining liquid out of the tank, and it'll turn the lights off to start refilling the tank again. Does that sound like a cool plan? I think so. So yeah, let's try it out. We can flip the lever. This should take a few seconds to start spawning blazes. There we go. Our idle timer is up, so blazes should pop up in a second here. And that should drain some liquid out of the tank, which should cause the lights to turn on. It might take a second or two. because there's probably a buffer in the pipes and everything. Oh yeah, look, the lights are off again. Nice. So that was quick. Cool. Look at that. So it'll automatically turn the lights off every time a blaze spawns. So that was actually pretty much instant, right? As soon as the blaze spawned, it used a bit of the mob essence, turned off the lights, it's getting itself some more mob essence, and then when it no longer needs mob essence because the tank is full, it'll automatically turn the lights back on. And the mobs that are in there currently will die, of course, but, you know, that's cool. And of course, if I want an emergency, you know, I want the lights on no matter what, I've still got the lever there that I can manually control to turn the lights on as needed. And then I can just cover up this wall, and that is a pretty cool build. I'm kind of enjoying that. Nice. All right, let's see. Is there anything else I want to set up over here? Yes. Yes, there is. I remember what I wanted to set up. Let's go make it so. Alright guys, so I've got what I hope is a pretty neat plan to do some cool stuff. I'm just going to need an energy acceptor. And then I should have everything I need. How's the sun? We're up. We're good. I would like to have access to my stuff right here. And I've decided to use a miniature AE system to handle everything that I want. Let's make it so. So we're going to have a disk drive hanging out right there with a couple of 4K cells in it. Now the chest, instead of being a chest, is actually going to wind up being something a little different. It's going to be an ME interface. But before I can do that, let's move the chest that's there. So let's get our dolly back. I put it away literally 3 seconds ago because my inventory was full. And then I needed it, because that's what happens. Because Dyer's a derp. Alright, so the ME interface right there is going to be responsible for accepting items. So you can see the item insert into the there. Cool. Yeah, insert mode. Nice. We can have the power acceptor sit right on top of it probably because there's power flying in right there, so that shouldn't be a problem. So now the power line's going into the power energy acceptor, so that thing's up and running, that's up and running, that's up and running, and then all we should really need is just a little bit of cabling coming probably right up here to here to here, and I got myself a hollow Tyrian cover, which should look pretty good. And an ME crafting terminal. It probably doesn't need to be a crafting terminal as a matter of fact, but that's okay. Let's clear that out of there and try this way then. Yeah, technically it doesn't really need to be a crafting terminal. Cool. And I can put stuff in there? I can put stuff in there. Beautiful. Let's see if I can sneak this thing onto the side then. I know there's a way to do this that's like easier than I make it out to be. It's tricky sometimes. But there is like a trick to it. Let's see. Let's put the cover down first. And then can I put this thing on here? Alright. Clearly not. I know there's a way to do this. Dyer noobing it up. I don't know why you're going on there backwards like that. This is a hollow Tyrian cover. Alright, give me a second, I'll figure it out. Alright, I decided to make this a little bit easier on myself. Instead of using the Forge multi-part cover, I'm going to use a cable facade. And we'll see if this one wants to behave a little better. So I think I can just put this here and... Let's see. I think I put this one down first like I was doing before, and then this one on. Nope, it's still going backwards. Alright guys, for some reason I had to replace the cable here, so I don't know if something got stuck, but replace the cable, place that on, and then you can put the cover on. There we go. That's how easy it's supposed to be. So that should be good. So then I can just take all the junk that I have in here so far collected and throw it in here. And then let's give this thing a whirl. So I'm going to let the blazes spawn. We can unlock this thing. We're not going to need you for much longer. Nor will we need you. There we go. And now we should start getting blaze rods in here. Cool. So that, I think, is a pretty well finalized system. As the mob essence gets used, of course, it'll turn the lights on and off as necessary. Things will be spawning mobs for us. Oh, that is awesome. And of course, we have access to our loot right there. Neat. I call that a complete build. Is there anything else I want to do here? I could give myself a little bit larger buffer on things. Wouldn't be a terrible idea. Let's go make ourselves a better tank. So I know we're going to want some Invar, so let's make a handful of that. So let's get ourselves tanks. I'm going to make one of you and upgrade you to the Invar version and upgrade you to the reinforced version. Let's see, hardened glass. I think we can use the quartz glass. Can't we? Yeah, fused quartz. Let's get ourselves a handful of that in the alloy smeltery version of this thing. Cool. And then I wouldn't mind a little bit of enderium. Start that whole process. So we're going to have a top tier tank from thermal expansion that will give us everything that we want. There we go, reinforced. And how's the enderium ingots coming along? Currently crafting them. Nice. Those do take a long time to craft. They're probably cooking up in here. Yeah, there they are. Still coming? Yeah, they definitely take a while. Even with an octadic capacitor. I need another tier of capacitors. Alright, so that will give us the top tier tank capable of storing a whopping 512 buckets. Wow, that's a lot of buckets. So that'll hold a lot of mob essence for us. Definitely better than the 8, I think, that we get from our standard tank over here. So we can just pop right inside. I'm just going to replace this tank, so it's okay. We can do that, and then that. And I wanted to hit that with output so that it drains into the, fluid things underneath. And this thing will be able to store a lot of mob essence. See, 8 millibuckets, or 8,000 millibuckets versus 512,000 millibuckets. Definitely the enderium is the way to go. Cool, some blaze dust dropped. Okay, so I call that now a completed build. So I'm going to turn the blaze spawner off. We don't really need many more blaze rods just at the moment. We will probably need some soon eventually. But I can then get my blaze dust out of there. I don't know why it didn't get collected, but that's okay. We'll pop that in there. And then we'll let this thing run for a while. And remember, the light will automatically turn on when the tank is full back behind the scenes. Nice. And of course, if we ever run out of storage space in our AE system, we can just pop open this thing and, throw a couple more cells in there. One more thing I'd like to do, actually, before we do wrap this up, is I would like to be able to access all the items that come out of my mob AE system from my main AE system. And to do that is really not too hard. All we need to do is make a storage bus. So let's take a look at that. Just make one of these guys, start that cooking up, and we're also going to need a decent amount of cables, unfortunately. So let's get like 64 of you guys. Start that process going. And I'll come back once everything's crafted, and I'm going to dig a tunnel. Alright guys, I'm back. Now you'll notice that on this cable that's running over here, I've got the dense cable set up here, I've got a regular cable coming off the side of it. We've got one channel free. I'm about to use that channel. We're going to run this cable straight over to our mob farm, and you can see I've kind of prepped up a little tunnel for myself here. If I wanted to run it along with this ender conduit, I could have used the ender IO stuff, but that's okay. Let's sneak off in this direction. You can see I was poking my head out of the ground every now and then just to see how I was doing. That looks halfway decent. Okay, and we're going to run this guy right over to here. So here's a neat trick. Ready? Let's take a look in our AE system and see how many blaze rods we have. Currently 6. So we've currently got access to 6 blaze rods. However, if we popped our head up here and took a look in there, we've got 22 in this AE system. Now, if you'd like to access this miniature little AE system, which doesn't even have a controller because it's got less than 8 devices on it, we can easily do that, and I'll show you how. Simply attach what I think I have on me, or did I not grab that? The storage bus that I crafted earlier. to the interface, or any interface, that's on this little network over here, like so. And we're going to configure the interface to be not bidirectional, meaning we can't put items in and out of the system. We're just going to set it to extract only. So the only thing this storage bus can do is pull items out of the AE network. And it's going to be able to access all the items in the AE network because we hooked it up to an interface. So interfaces are smart. They're configured to, when a storage bus is hooked up to them, give access to everything that's in the AE interface, in the AE network there. So extract mode only, and we won't do any configuration of anything else. We'll just connect some cabling. So there to there. Nice. Now if we take a look at our wireless terminal here and we look at blaze rods, we'll see that we have access to 28 blaze rods. Sweet. So now we do have access to everything that's inside this AE network from our main AE network. However, this thing cannot access the things back in the main AE network. So we have this little segregation of this area. This is its own little sub-network, all hanging out by itself, getting power from the energy acceptor, having its own storage. No items will be allowed to be placed into this AE network from the main network. So any items that I drop into my AE network here will not be allowed to go into here. But you'll notice that I can access all the stuff that's in here. So for example, if I looked up something like, I don't know, creeper heads, right? There's 3 in there. I don't know if that's going to be true. Let's look at leather boots. There's probably not many of those in here. Alright, so there's a few, but you can tell, you know what I'm getting at. So blaze rod's probably the best example. We had 6 earlier, now we've got 28 in total because there's 22 here and the 6 that we had before. So this thing is hooked up and running. Sweet. Alright, let me find my way out of this place. I should be able to get out of here somehow. Yoink. And it's raining and dark and scary out, so let me come back in a minute. Alright guys, we're back, and I'm doing a little bit more dividing by diamond. Dun 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 dun, don't mind me, just being dangerous. There we go. Let's go upgrade this system that we've made an episode or 2 ago. I would like this to be the following setup. So I got some more dark ethereal glass, because I love this stuff now. There we go. And F7 this guy. So light's currently on. Let's pop downstairs, turn the lights off, and what we should see is a pretty dark room. See, it's still bleeding through light. I'm not sure where that's coming from. The only thing I can imagine is it's the powered spawner here that's hanging out in the ceiling. I'm really not going to need this thing anymore, so I'm going to get rid of him. Cool. I'll get rid of some of the other stuff that's up here in a bit, but at least for now. And that... See, what else would be bleeding through? Unless it's the redstone lamps or the facade. Oh, there we go. Okay. See, I told you I thought facades were bleeding at some point, but okay, no biggie. So let's pop down here, turn the lights back on. Cool. And what we're going to want to have is a similar setup, almost identical. I might need a little bit more dirt, so let's get some. Yoink. And I'm going to clear this out. So let's snag from our blue pouch our wand of equal trade. There it is. And of course, because I've got the sound muffler in here, there's not much sound going on. It's always a little bit eerie for me when I can't hear the sound effects of the game. I suddenly think there's something wrong with my computer. And I'm like, oh right, sound muffler. Nice. Alright, so that's going to be on. Let's go ahead and clear out just 4 spots that we'll use for watering can implementation to really quickly get this place turned into cursed earth. We could even throw one in the center here. That'll do. 1, 2, and remember these won't spread or spawn while the lights are on. So that's an important thing to remember. Alright, so we've got that ready. So we're going to have lights on here in the light control, and we don't even need this thing anymore. So we can turn this off, and we will in a minute. So that'll do. Cool. So we'll reconfigure some of this stuff. We really don't need half of this setup anymore. We don't need power running over here. We don't need most of this, to be honest with you. So we can get rid of the fluid tank. We can get rid of the combustion generator. We can get rid of these things. All kinds of stuff that we don't need. Nice. I want to get those stairs back so that things are looking pretty again. I want to kind of like fancify the altar back up because I made it a little bit messy. Oh look, cursed earth is spreading in the daylight. Nice. Or not daylight, but you know, light. Alright, I guess it will spread slowly in the light. Alright, that's good to know. Alright, let me clean up. I'm going to set this guy to energy mode because we don't need any energy up here anymore. We really only need the redstone conduits for the lighting purposes. I'll clean this up and come back in a minute when I'm all done. Alright guys, luckily this is actually a pretty easy configuration for us because we've already done part of what we want to do here. So let's get ourselves some more of this insulated cobble stuff. And so we've got the manual shutoff valve here still. And I'll get rid of this oak wood panel. Don't really need him anymore. Maybe. It's harder to break than obsidian. Alright, put these things away. Combustion generator don't really need. Alright, so let's run this stuff right across to here. And I'm going to find a slightly nicer way to run this thing. Right now it's kind of a mess, I know. I apologize. But I've got this configured before it was less than 50 and it was meant for you know, pulling items out of the chest here and, you know, upgrading them. I might actually stick with that. Let's put that back to less than 50. And I'm going to, instead of this, I'm going to test something that I have not played with yet. And it's going to require me sleeping through the night first because I don't want anybody sneaking up on me while I'm doing this. There we go. Let's get ourselves another gate. What I'm thinking is I can place the gate here and I can have this guy measure for full. So this thing will still do less than 50% and still manage this piece. But we'll have another gate here that measures the tank to 100%, and when it's full, we'll automatically turn off the lights. How does that sound? I think it sounds good. What's going on up here? Any spreading? A little bit. Let's see if we can speed it up with the watering can. Oh, I must have it in my blue bag if I didn't put it in the A system. Yep, there it is. That's funny that you can't, you know, watering can to speed things up while the light's on, though. I got teleported out. Nice. As did a skeleton, apparently. That's cool. Alright, how'd we do? Not too bad. We'll let that spread a little bit naturally. I don't want to stand in there. Alright, let's see. Is my thing done yet? It is. So we'll throw the redstone chipset in there with the red pipe wire, and that should quickly get me a basic gate. There we go. So I should be able to place this thing on here, like so, and measure tank full. We'll do a redstone signal. Sweet, that is cool. And then we can pop this guy on, configure him on the, what is that, east side to be in out. Nice, look at that. So now we're measuring two different things inside the blood altar on the same cobblestone structure pipe. That's one of the new things that's available with the Buildcraft gates, and it's awesome. So now that we've got that, we have the same auto shutoff system that we had earlier, and I'm just debating if I want to do something about item drops in there. Part of me says, I don't really care about item drops, and the other part of me says, I kind of do. Whoa. Fallen Knight, one shot. Hello. Okay. So I'm going to go get my gravestone back there, and we'll be back in a minute. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot. These guys were set to the green frequency, and they should be set to the red frequency, so keep that in mind. We will set this guy to red. There we go. Much better. So what I'm going to do is turn off the lights here, and what we should wind up seeing... Oh, why are you guys on still? Oh. Why did you get down and out, down and out? There we go. Cool. So you should not be on at the moment, as a matter of fact. Are you getting the signal from here by chance? If that's the case, then that stinks. It's the only thing I can think of. Let's remove this guy and see if it's dark in there. It is. Oh man, that stinks. I wonder if that's Ender IO doing that. Let's do, what was that again? East. Yeah, that's getting the signal from there. Darn. So that does not work. I'm sure a redstone dust piece might prevent that. Let's see. This is me just testing now. Oh, look at that. It's also emitting a redstone signal on that side, even though it kind of shouldn't be. Interesting. Alright, I have a solution. Alright guys, here's the solution. I'm making another gate. And we're going to pop this in here, like so. We will put this here. We'll put the gate here. And then we'll connect these two pieces with red piping wire. There and there. And instead of having this emit a redstone signal when the tank is full, we will emit a red pipe signal. Cool. And this guy over here, when he receives a red pipe signal, he will emit a redstone signal. Cool, right? So that should work. So we'll say this was east again. There we go. So now when the tank is full, for example, I'm going to remove this thing, and then it should fill up at some point, turn on the red pipe signal, and turn on the redstone signal, which would then turn on the lights. So the lights are currently off. Where's my sigil? Almost full. Come on now, spawn some monsters for me. There we go. So once this thing completely fills up, which I forget, capacity 20,000, okay. Almost there. Always test, because you never know. There we go. Cool. So we hit 20,000, red pipe signal on, redstone signal on, lights on. Beautiful. And then we pop this thing back in there, it starts absorbing some of the LP, and the lights turned off automatically. That's cool. So there we go. Slightly different, but pretty similar bit of automation setup like we have over there. I'm gonna figure out these wires at some point. Maybe I'll do something with wireless redstone instead of having these wires running all the way up there. I don't know. We'll see. But for now, I think that's pretty good. Alright, real quick, I want to check out my quarry on camera here because I've been running it every so often and keeping an eye on the coordinates, and I basically, if the coordinates get up to 80, I know I'm in good shape, and if they get stuck at any point, I get a little nervous. So, come on, Flate, why are you no work? Oh yeah, look at this. Wow, it's been running pretty well, actually, for a while. Did you get stuck on something, or what's your deal? So that looks cool. Let's send you back up to sea level and see why you're having trouble moving. I mean, I know there's a lot of water here. Aha, there's your problem. Probably ran into some amount of lava. So that is one downside to this quarry design, is that it can bump into lava every now and then. And when it does, that's usually a problem. There we go, it's moving again. Nice. Okay. So just keep an eye on that. If a cobblestone generator forms above the quarry, that can be a little bit of a nuisance. Not the end of the world, but just be aware of it as a possible problem. But otherwise, this thing's been running really well. I mean, look at this amount of terrain. It's like basically completely destroyed. I'm going to go get some sponges back at my base to clear up some of this water mess that's been created. Sometimes what will happen is it'll catch a water source block or two, and then it'll just cause a big mess everywhere. It's something I'm working on. But overall, the quarry works pretty well. It just leaves a little bit of a mess behind. Let's get some sponges. I was making these previously. There we go. That's the Minecraft sponge. This is the open block sponge, so it's yellow wool. Or I can go with this, which is just wool and a slime ball. That should be easy enough. Just get a handful of these guys. That should be good. The only downside with sponges, I considered having them on the platform, by the way. I tested it in my single-player test world that I do usually. And what was happening... That's weird. My angel wings stop working whenever I take those transits. What was happening was the open block sponges are great, but they will cause they will get destroyed if they get near lava. Like, they'll clear away the lava, but it'll also destroy the sponge. So it's kind of a bummer. Oh well, not the end of the world. Let's do this. Nice. That's cool. And with that, guys, I think it's time to wrap up the episode. So this is Direwolf 20 signing off. Hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. We'll be back next time. I think we had a pretty successful run of setting up the mob essence farm and all that good stuff that we set up today, because I think it's going to be a very useful device of ours that we're going to take some good advantage of. So hope you guys enjoyed checking it out as much as I enjoyed making it. Direwolf 20 signing off. Take it easy.